To be a fan of MMA or to be involved in it, you gotta be a bit weird, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being different. We're all here, after all, and as far as I'm concerned, we're all awesome. Even in our strange little MMA bubble, there are still a few that go even beyond that and make us collectively think, that guy is wired a bit differently, isn't he? Sometimes such oddities end up in the biggest promotion in the whole sport. So today we're gonna celebrate the strange and unusual and talk about 10 fighters who certainly broke the mold. They were both elite enough to enter the UFC and different enough to make this list, with tongue firmly in cheek. Number 10, Sean O'Malley. If Willy Wonka got into MMA, dyed his hair neon, and developed a sniper-like left hand, you'd get something vaguely resembling Sean O'Malley. The UFC bantamweight champ fights like he was generated by an algorithm that combined TikTok virality, knockout power, and a disturbing commitment to looking like an anime character at all times. The man walks out to superstar by Lupe Fiasco and lives like he's perpetually starring in his own music video, and despite the candy-colored aesthetic and video game callouts, O'Malley can absolutely crack. He's put away opponents in brutal fashion while casually breakdancing mid-fight and claiming he's undefeated, even after officially losing to Chito Vera, which to his credit he still insists was just a freak nerve injury and thus doesn't count. Outside the cage, his podcast is an odd mix of stoner philosophy, questionable fashion critiques, and occasional fight talk. Love him or hate him, O'Malley doesn't just want to win fights. He wants to be the brand, the highlight, the meme, and the moment all rolled into one rainbow-haired buzzsaw. You could argue he's the first fighter to actually weaponize clout in combat sports, and that alone makes him a strange and effective presence in MMA. Number 9, Michel Pereira. What if life was just a video game and there was absolutely no consequence for what you did or how you did it? You might fight a bit like Michel Pereira does in the UFC. In just 5 short fights with the promotion, Pereira has broken every possible concept of what it means to be a fighter. You want to use up every ounce of your stamina in the first minute of the fight doing flips and other insane shit. Absolutely, go for it. All of it. In fact, let's spin around. Let's do some cartwheels, dancing. Literal dancing. What benefit is there in doing a backflip while approaching your opponent? I have no idea. But Michel Pereira moves as if standing still would be death itself. And what's incredible is that his strange methods have worked somewhat. He scored a flying knee against Danny Roberts in his debut. He submitted Zalim Imadaev. Both fights earned him Performance of the Night. He beat Chaos Williams. The irony of his name not lost when fighting a guy who should actually be called Chaos. There have been setbacks. He flipped himself out against Tristan Conley and would lose the decision, and he illegally kneed Diego Sanchez in a fight that might be up there for one of the weirdest of all time. I can't say that he's not a very entertaining kind of weird though, and for possibly the most bizarre style to ever grace the octagon, he's earned a spot on our list. Number 8, Collin Fletcher. You've probably been told many times in your life not to judge a book by its cover, and while that is absolutely the case with Collin Fletcher, who is quite a pleasant person and a great family man, when that cover is a weird, scary, evil clown vampire axe murderer, it's understandable if that old adage might be reaching its outer limits. Collin Fletcher, not to be confused with the pioneering backpacker and writer, or the cricket player, or the bishop, made it all the way to the finale of TUF The Smashes before losing to Norman Park via decision. He would have one more UFC bout before heading to Bellator, but the freak show certainly made his mark with his signature scary look. That wasn't an insult, by the way. Freak show is his nickname. Number 7, Kimo Leopoldo. Very likely to be the first man to cause MMA fans to say, "What in the actual fuck is happening?" would be Kimo Leopoldo making his pro debut at UFC against Royce Gracie. Leopoldo, who is a devout Christian, wanted to use this opportunity of being in the spotlight to amplify his religion's message, and to the surprise of absolutely everyone during his walkout, he was preceded by teammates holding up Bible verses and came to the cage carrying a massive wooden cross. I say to the surprise of everyone because even the UFC didn't know. He assumed correctly that they wouldn't be too keen on him going full WWE, and so he sent the cross to the arena in pieces in bags marked training equipment. They never suspected a thing. Despite the truly bizarre entrance that has defined his legacy as an MMA fighter, Kimo would go on to have a fantastic showing against Gracie, losing via armlock but exhausting Royce so much that he would be forced to withdraw from the tournament. Kimo's intensity, build, tattoos, and devout religiosity made him a bizarre standout from the sport's early history, and while he was unable to trick the UFC again in any of his other 4 bouts for the promotion, his pudgy teammate Joe Sun would attempt to replicate his entrance at the very next event, but realized about 6 steps down the aisle that he was only 5 feet 4 inches and didn't have the muscle mass to make the walk. Keith Hackney then punched him in the dick. It was good times. Number 6. Krone Gracie. The MMA community can, at times, be prone to conspiratorial thinking. You need to check out my future video on the topic, and while there are plenty of fighters we could have potentially placed in this spot to represent that sort of mindset, Krone Gracie is an interesting standout. The son of Rickson is, without question, a master of his craft on the mats, and thus far in his MMA career, aside from his fight with Cub Swanson at UFC on ESPN Plus 19, he's been perfect. Where he makes our list is mainly from a podcast interview he did with Eddie Bravo. It was here that among some fantastic analysis of fighting and jiu-jitsu, Krone began to explain his understanding from what he's collected in the universe, and that is that the earth is flat, or rather maybe not flat as he put it, but possibly not round either. It would appear that Gracie doesn't believe the earth is spinning at quote 1,000,000 miles an hour, actually around 1,000. He then goes on to correct himself incorrectly and say that the earth is spinning at 666 miles per hour, which he finds quote fucking interesting. Krone then drew a diagram of what he believes the earth is, and it's like an eye.
This is the color, is where we live. We're in this dome. The thing when you understand the color of the eye, how everybody has eyes, and how the eye is like the center of everything. Like, we are the universe.
I'm not entirely sure what he meant, but he would go on to mention that he thought some sort of higher being was speaking through him, it seemed. I don't know. He also does that weird breathing thing that his dad does. Number 5, Jiri Prochaska. With just 2 fights in the UFC, Jiri Prochaska has made 2 things abundantly clear. He's one of the most dangerous 205-pounders in the world, and he's all kinds of different. His insane fighting style, his actual style, his reasons for fighting. I could make another video in the future explaining the complexity of this man's existence. After absolutely decimating Dominic Reyes with a spinning back elbow in his second fight, Jiri confessed that he'd not been training the move, but instead caught it with the antenna on his head. Yeah, that crazy hair, which he calls his war hair, is actually extensions, which he repeatedly throughout the week called his Wi-Fi antenna. All joking aside though, that's really just the surface of Prochaska's oddity. Jiri is a warrior philosopher of sorts, inspired deeply to live his life by the code found in the Book of the 5 Rings by the legendary swordsman Miyamoto Musashi. When Jiri isn't fighting, you might catch him reading a philosophy book or meditating in a forest where he considers the true nature of man. A bit of that came out in his most recent post-fight presser, where he mentioned that his ego would love the money, cars, girls, and parties, but the other side of him wants to live in a small house in the forest and work on mastery of himself. He also mentioned that he likes to fight, but not hurt people. Perhaps most fascinatingly, Prochaska has said that during a particularly difficult cut leading up to a fight, for lack of a better phrase, he had a breaking free from the Matrix moment and reached a different level of understanding about life and living in the present moment, which he believes he carries to this day. It's like if Samurai Jack was suddenly dropped into the UFC. Jiri plans to change the world through the inspiration created by his fighting, and I'm 100% on board with it. Number 4, Jason Miller. Has there ever been a more fitting nickname for any person ever than Mayhem for Jason Miller? While his time in the promotion was brief, he fought GSP once way back at UFC 52 and then returned to coach the season of The Ultimate Fighter and have 2 fights before getting fired for some sort of strange backstage incident that's never been fully explained. Miller absolutely made an indelible mark on the sport. To return to the UFC after 6 years as a tough coach would imply that Mayhem was well known outside the Zuffa umbrella, and he was. Between the super popular MTV show Bully Beatdown and his unforgettable beatdown at the hands of the Scrap Pack following Strikeforce Nashville, Miller was known as a bit of a goof, a bit of an oddball, but also a competent fighter. Even if he was a wild card, his entrances are legendarily strange, as are his interviews, such as the time he, in character as Lucky Patrick from Here Comes the Boom, had a complete meltdown on the MMA Hour.
That's it? You're gonna do this?
You fucking saw what I'm doing.
Ma'am, this is not
hey,
Andy Kaufman and...
Stop calling me man!
Okay.
Not to mention a whole host of run-ins with the law, including a standoff he live tweeted and a bizarre incident where he sprayed a fire extinguisher all over a church while naked. His substance abuse issues have been well documented, and he's gone through his good and bad periods. That said, here's hoping he comes out the other side of his troubles happier and healthier, because for all his shortcomings, many fans have a soft spot for this MMA oddball. Number 3, Mike Perry. Where does one even start with Mike Perry? How about the beginning? Prior to his UFC 202 debut, Perry hilariously faked a handshake with Hyun-Gyu Lim, only to then say, "Thought you had a friend, boy," and scream in his face. From there, MMA's Florida man was off to the races. His entire career is filled with weird. Of course, it goes without saying he's had some absolutely bizarre interviews, social media posts, and stare downs. Legitimately too many to mention. But a highlight was definitely when he explained to John and Nick that he didn't understand why he had to pay taxes after he already got his money. Other weird highlights include his rivalry with Cowboy Cerrone that made for some of the weirdest social media posts of his career, and of course the Darren Till saga, which had Perry hilariously punching himself in the face a bunch after Till called him out post-fight. Their spar mix-up, Darren trolling him mercilessly on social media. It's gone on and on. It's still going on. How about when he was only cornered by his girlfriend? Or when he asked to walk out to the theme song from Halo, but instead was given Halo by Beyonce, and decided to sing every single word as he made his way to the cage. Speaking of walkouts, if his opponent's music has a good beat, Mike is likely to be dancing to it. I haven't even mentioned the platinum tattoo over his eyebrow, or the many street fights he's gotten into. Are you at all shocked that he was involved with preparing Jake Paul for Ben Askren? Mike Perry is almost beyond belief. He's like a living satire. But through his weirdness, he's also found considerable fame in the MMA community. Number 2, Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson is the type of guy to be number 1 on our list. Let me start this entry by asking you your favorite Ninja Turtle. Tony's is Michelangelo. I know this because of his many stream of consciousness media scrums over the years. To experience one of Tony's interviews in its entirety is to go forth in life having fundamentally changed forever. The man is truly one of a kind, but it's not just when someone gives him a platform to speak. The dominant lightweight is known for his intense and bizarre training methods that are regularly posted on social media. One day he might be chucking baseballs into a tire or flipping a pad the size of a refrigerator. The next he's blindfolded while working on takedowns against 2 sacks of flour tied together with jumper cables. I made that last one up, but for a moment you probably considered that it was real, and that is a testament to how wild Tony's training truly is. Then there's just all those weird great moments, too many to list. Startling Dana White several times during stare downs, calling Conor and Khabib McNuggets and tiramisu for the rest of eternity. Those 2 post-fight interviews where he called out Conor with literally the exact same verbiage when he threatened to ankle pick Fabricio Werdum, healing his knee on his own in record time. Tony Ferguson has so many incredible and bizarre moments in his career that I've probably missed 15 of your favorites, which is why he absolutely belonged at the top of our list, even though he's number 2. Number 1, Diego Sanchez. Chances are, when you saw the title of this video, you immediately thought of Diego Sanchez, and it's true. From the very start of his time in the spotlight on TUF, it was pretty apparent that Diego marched to the beat of a different drum, fighting invisible aliens, arguing about asparagus, and doing thunderstorm yoga, the nightmare, or the dream, or the nightmare again, or the Lionheart. Depending on when you've run into Sanchez, he's always been more than willing to provide some Diego entertainment, unless prompted to do so by Ariel Helwani.
Gotta give you guys new entertainment every now and then, you know?
Can we see one right now?
No.
That's a little too much. Okay.
Through his absolute wars in the cage, or his truly bizarre walkouts, like the yes chant or the time he carried a cross like he was about to fight a vampire, Diego has consistently been one of the most fascinating, beloved, and oddest fighters to ever grace the octagon. And of course, who could forget the yes cartwheels? Sanchez is always a wild card in interviews, particularly when Ariel is around, but if you put a camera or a microphone in front of him, chances are he'll say some kind of fascinating quote, like the time he claimed that prayer and the sugar substitute stevia performed a miracle and removed a lump from his girlfriend's breast. All the love for Diego's strangeness has taken a bit of a darker turn in recent times, when he left longtime Jim Jackson Wink to be trained and cornered by Grima Wormtongue, which very recently resulted in his release by the UFC. But here's to hoping he finds better management and happier times in the future for all the Diego entertainment he's provided us over the years. Thanks for watching. Please give us a like and subscribe. We've got new videos for you every single week. Let us know what you thought of the video in the comments below, and have yourself a wonderful day.